Welcome to the Airgun Show. On the test bench this week is the recently renamed Walther Rotex RM8. But before that, I'm out on the farm targeting rats before and after dark. Just to prove things don't always go to plan, the intention for today was to wander the farm, hopefully pick off a few feral pigeons and jackdaws, but they've done a complete no-show. I've not had a single shot. However, just walking back through the yard, I spotted a rat dashing in next to one of the parlours. What I'm hoping to do is settle down here next to the pallets, in the cover of the barn, hopefully pick one or two off and salvage something from the session. It's late afternoon and I've drawn a blank so far, so it's fair to say I'm feeling frustrated. But a sighting of a rat has renewed my enthusiasm, and thankfully it doesn't take long before more venture out. Just minutes into the vigil I've got a rat in my sights, but this one's too quick. Well, it's certainly a fairly busy rat run. There's some rats clambering around the bottom of bush over there. Problem is, because it's still light, the rats are quite skittish and they're not stopping to offer me a shot. It's a pity we haven't got some smelly baits to put out and hold them still. Keeping a close watch on the run, I at last spot a rat that hangs around long enough to possibly offer a shot. I train the crosshairs of the MTC scope on him, but at the last second, he too makes a dash for cover. But the disappointment doesn't last long, as I get a golden opportunity just seconds later. Well, that one was more like it. Paused just long enough to offer me a shot and paid the price. Let's hope one or two more make the same mistake. From the number of rats on this run, it's clear it won't be long until I get another chance at a shot. And so it proves as another pest stops in the right place. Now we're on a bit of a roll. That one was incredibly close, less than 10 metres to scope without a focus, and also had to give it quite a lot of holdover because the pellet was still well below the line of sight. Nonetheless, I landed the shot exactly where I wanted it. As soon as one rat goes down, another seems to replace it, and straight away I've got a chance to make it a ratting hat-trick. What started out as a failed jackdaw and feral pigeon shoot has turned into a really productive ratting session. It certainly proves the point about being in the right place at the right time. Another rat comes in close, but it's a struggle to get a clear shot through the gate. The wait goes on and eventually the rat breaks cover, heading over towards one of its fallen brethren. But even then, I'm not quick enough on the trigger. Dear oh dear, I missed a couple of chances at that one. To be honest, I was reluctant to take the shot because I was shooting through the gate, and being so close, the pellet would have still been below the line of sight, and I was worried about it striking the gate, so I did leave a couple of opportunities. Hang on, it's back out. Well, this is turning out to be quite a busy rat run. What happens at this time of year is as the weather turns colder and natural food starts to run low, rats move on to farmyards in search of food and shelter too. So if you've got a ratting permission, expect it to just get busier and busier from now on towards the tail end of the winter. By now the afternoon has turned to evening, but I just can't tear myself away from this rat run. I hate to waste an opportunity, so I may as well make the most of this one while the going's good. It does mean a change of kit though. Well, the light's starting to fade now, but we're still seeing a few rats moving around, and although I haven't got any bait, I have got some lamping gear in the back of the car. I'll probably get in trouble for getting home late, but I think I'm going to fetch that, pop it on the scope and see if we can't shoot a few more. A few minutes later, I'm back and ready to turn this afternoon visit into a night shoot. Also got my backpack stool with me, which is going to be a heck of a lot more comfortable than sitting on these sacks, which are hard as nails. And so it's on with the Tracer TriStar Pro. It's a top lamping kit and arguably more powerful than strictly necessary for short-range ratting, but a red filter should take the edge off it. The lamping rig's assembled and it's time to get cracking. With the first sweep of the lamp, I'm familiar with my safe arc of fire and ready to go when the next rat shows itself. Well, the lamp may not quite have the stealth of night vision, but at least it's buying us a bit more hunting time this evening. Also, I'd probably dim it down a little bit more for normal shooting and just be looking for that red eye shine from the rats, but for the purpose of filming, I'm going to keep it wound up and just hope that that red filter is enough to stop it from spooking them too much. One advantage of the lamp is that it doubles as a handy stage light for filming purposes, which gives us a few more precious minutes before we have to switch the main camera to NV. And with the Daystates mag topped up, we're ready to go. All we need is a rat. That's one big advantage that a conventional lamp does have over night vision, the fact that you've got that handy light source for fiddly tasks like reloading magazines. And although I tend to use a single shot airgun quite frequently during daylight hours, I do like to have a multi-shot mag so I'm not fumbling around in the darkness trying to find pellets in the heat of the action when I'm out lamping like this. You'll probably also notice that the light's got so low now that we've gone over to night vision on the camera, so that's going to look a little bit different now. Enough talk, it's time to concentrate on the task in hand. In the red light I can soon make out my first rat of the lamping session. It's within range, but it just won't offer a clean shot. Tracking it through the scope, all I can do is watch as it heads back from where it came. Well, that was a big one, but it didn't like being in the spotlight and wasn't going to hang around to offer me a shot. It is apparent that the rats don't like the lamp and it's making them a bit skittish, but I'm going to persevere. It's completely dark now, but the rats are still scuttling back and forth along the run. Just a few minutes later I get another chance, but it's another brief encounter. Judging by my quarry's behaviour, I'm going to have to be swift to make these chances count. That's better. It was another fidgety one, but it stopped for just long enough and I made the most of that opportunity. I've got my eye in now, and what I could really do with is one more on the ground before we call it a night. Luckily, another rat appears willing to oblige. Just like the last two, it's not staying still, but luckily for me it makes several passes, and after a couple of missed chances, I'm determined to make it third time lucky. Finally. That was starting to get pretty frustrating, but still, that's another one in the bag, and there do still seem to be a few rats moving around, even if they are reluctant to keep still. Once again, the appeal of a dead rat proves irresistible, and another one falls to the day state. Well, I'm afraid that one's going to have to be the last for tonight, and although the rats have been skittish, I certainly think it's proved the value of a good old-fashioned scope-mounted lamp. May not be as high-tech as night vision gear, but it's certainly helped keep this session on track, and now it's going to come in really handy for picking up these rats. A surprisingly busy session there, picking off rats with good old-fashioned lamplight. And now, it's over to the Airgun Show news.
This is the Airgun Show news. Brought to you by the Airgun Centre. Government proposals to increase the fee for the grant of firearm certificates have been welcomed as fair by the British Association for Shooting and Conservation. The proposals, which will affect shooters of high-powered airguns, will see the fee rise to £88, with renewal costing £68. The proposals are contained in a consultation originated in the work of a Home Office working group, which included BASC, the British Shooting Sports Council and the police. If agreed, it will mark the first increase in fees in 13 years. Suggested increases were initially significantly higher. Shooters wanting to boost the performance of their night vision unit should take a look at the new Tracer LED Ray IR torch. The compact unit can cast an invisible beam of infrared light out to 400 meters. It has 3 power settings and can be focused from a wide flood to a tight spot. Made from aircraft grade aluminium, it has a runtime of up to 6 hours and weighs just 138 grams. It's supplied with a quick release weaver mount and has an SRP of just $69.95, with a battery charging kit available for £20 more. Visit deben.com for more information. Airgunners looking for ideas for festive stocking fillers should consider putting the zombie silhouette knockdown target from Great Fun on their wish list. Finished in an eerie yellow glow, this tough little target comes with a 50-meter reset cord and should be a big hit on the plinking range. The spooky target costs just £11 or $42 for a set of 5. Check them out at gr8fun.net. Olympic organising bodies are deciding how much funding to give shooting for the next 4 years, and you can help inform their decision. UK Sport has launched a consultation on its funding principles and strategies. British Shooting has urged all shooters to go online and respond. Airgunning is a big part of international sport for the country, represented at the Olympics, Paralympics and the Commonwealth Games. UK Sport said this survey would shape the thinking behind sport in the UK. To add your views, head to uksport.gov.uk/consultation. And finally, we've got the first word on what's new for the CLA Game Fair 2015. At a London launch event, the fair unveiled a new feature area, the Great British Village, plus an extended food exhibition named Great British Flavour. Fair director Tony Wall told us why he was looking forward to the event so much.
We're going back to Harwood for the first time for an event for 12 years. We have huge interest and huge support to take it back north. It does give us the chance to take in those from Scotland who want to come to the event, and an area that, because we haven't been there for so long, we've most probably missed an audience that are, again, as I said before, are people who are passionate about the countryside and all things countryside. So we really think it's the place to go. So we're really pleased to be going back. A number of different areas, trying to keep the sort of core of the show as it always is, because that's what the vast majority of our visitors want. But we have celebration, the best of British, so we're having a section which will deal with everything that is great about Britain, from food to dancing to art to sculpture, so a real view of the countryside. We have cooking competitions, we're very keen on promoting game cooking, Game Chef of the Year, and more involvement with the public and our visitors in the sort of judging of the event. So from that perspective, just something that is a bit different, and hopefully we will be having hot air balloons with an evening lift off on the Friday evening, so we're quite excited about that, and other little bits and pieces at the moment that are in the embryo stage.
That was the Airgun Show news.
The subject of today's test is causing quite a stir around the airgunning scene. Walther's a big name in the shooting world, yet the Walther Rotex is a multi-shot PCP airgun with a surprisingly small price tag. For just £420, you seem to get a lot of gun for your money. It's quite hefty, weighing in at a shade over 3.8 kilos unscoped, but that gives the impression of it being a robust gun that's going to withstand the knocks of field use. Engineering's clean and tidy throughout, and the black finish looks very neat, and I'm always pleased to see a long, uninterrupted scope rail. The stock's ambidextrous, and you can tell. The fit doesn't feel quite as well tailored as that of a dedicated right or left-hander, and I could notice it just as I nestled down into the cheek piece. Also, I think the grip would be a little bit more comfortable if the scallops behind the pistol grip were just a little bit deeper. That said, the rake of the pistol grip is near perfect, gives excellent trigger attack. The gun is also very well balanced, and that very angular cheek piece is high enough to give really good scope alignment. I've got this scope mounted fairly low, but if you decided to go with higher mounts, it would still line up perfectly. The Manelli stock certainly looks good, and the action is seamlessly cradled within its flowing lines. I particularly like the way that the forend is sculpted around the 200cc buddy bottle, which actually puts me in mind of the woodwork on the BSA Super 10 and R10. There's laser etched checkering on the pistol grip, and also at the forend. It extends pretty much to the extreme front of the stock and rolls all the way around and underneath, which looks good and feels great. Accuracy comes courtesy of a Walther barrel, at the end of which is what looks like a slinky taper fit silencer, but is actually a muzzle weight. However, it doesn't really help to suppress sound, so the gun still goes off with quite a crack. That will probably irritate your neighbours if you intend to use it for backyard plinking, and it's also going to be a problem if you want to use it for hunting. On the underside of the weight is a grub screw, and if you loosen that off you can remove it completely. Also, if you unscrew the cap, the barrel is actually threaded with a 1/2 inch UNF thread should you want to fit an external moderator. The only snag with that is that as the gun comes, it measures up at a fairly compact 95 centimetres and handles well in confined spaces. An external silencer is going to compromise those compact dimensions slightly. Charging is via a quick fill adapter which pushes into the underside of the gun. From the recommended 232 bar fill, the .22 caliber test gun gave slightly under the stated 180 consistent shots, and there was a distinct sweet spot for the 90 odd shots between 200 and 130 bar, and they were hovering just under 11 foot-pounds. There's also a pressure gauge discreetly positioned on the underside of the gun next to the inlet. The 8-shot magazine's very easy to remove. All you do is pull back the bolt, draw back the retaining clip on the right hand side of the gun and pull out the mag from the left. Its aluminium design is reassuringly simple, and there's just a rubber band around the outside which holds pellets in place. It's very easy to load and simple to get pellets properly seated with no fiddling around. And once it's loaded up, you just push it back in from the left and return the retaining clip to lock it in place. A really nice feature is the fact that the magazine is seated within the action beneath the scope rails, so there's no risk of it fouling your scope. After firing, you pull back the rugged side bolt to recock the gun. The forward stroke cycles the magazine and pushes forward the probe to seat the pellet. It does take quite a push and you have to be positive with it. There's a manual safety catch at the rear of the action, and it feels a little bit flimsy because it's made from plastic, but it does what it's supposed to do, and it's nicely positioned to push off with your thumb when you're ready to take the shot. In the middle of the button is an integral switch which you have to depress to release it, and that's a nice touch that prevents you from slipping the safety by accident. The trigger blade's also made from a composite plastic. It's a pet hate of mine, but I will concede that it probably makes very little difference in practice. I do actually really like the shape of the blade though. Across the front it's wide and flat, which helps to spread it across the pad of your finger and makes it that much easier to predict the break point. The first stage has just the right amount of travel and weight. Straight from the box I did notice a small amount of creep in the second stage, but it wasn't so much as to make the trigger difficult to predict, and I quickly got used to it. So that's a quick roundup of what your £420, or less if you shop around, actually buys you. Let's let rip on some targets and see how it performs. Well, although this gun's some way down the list when it comes to its price tag, it's certainly no sloppy performer when it comes to accuracy. This group falls comfortably within 20mm. It was shot at about 25 metres with Air Arms Diablo filled pellets, which this gun really seems to like. As you can probably see from the trees behind me, there's a bit of a breeze drifting across the range today, and I'd suggest that's why these two pellets have just drifted wide of what was literally a single hole group which the other three passed through. So gun's certainly accurate enough for hunting, and because of that fast fire multi-shot mechanism, it's also a fun plinker too. To sum up, the Walther Rotex, distributed in the UK by Armex, looks purposeful, feels purposeful and shoots well. It also gives the impression of being built to last. You certainly get a lot of bang for your buck with this gun. That's all for this week, but we'll be back again in a fortnight. That's Thursday at 7:30 PM. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you aren't already a member of the BASC, it's time you joined the organisation that works to promote and protect your sport.